All right, all right. Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing? Let us know in chat where you're from, how old you are, and what swim team you're repping. My name's Tyler Clary. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing with Fitter and Faster Swim Tour, or Fitter and Faster Swim Camps, excuse me. Welcome to another episode of hashtag FFT Live, presented by Fitter and Faster Swim Camps. This episode is titled "Breaking It Down: The 400 IM." It's an event that's near and dear to my heart, and we've got my friend Gunnar Bentz here with us today to sort of talk us through how he breaks down the 400 IM and just some of the things that he's used to train for that event in the past. And I've looked through the slideshow already, so I've already got a pretty good idea of what he's going to talk about. Set a couple of ground rules. As you guys know, there's no spamming, please. If I catch anybody spamming, I'm going to ban you from the chat room. It's that simple. Please don't spam. Also, we are announcing a couple of things today. We have some goggles that we're giving away to one lucky winner during the webinar today. So if you stick around to the very end of the webinar, I'm going to announce someone at random, and you're going to get a free pair of... what are these suckers called? They're the Cobra Core Swipe Mirror Goggles by Arena. They're really, really comfy. They've got great peripheral vision out of them. And if you stick around to the end, you might get some free goggles. Everybody likes free stuff, right? Also, we're actually today announcing a couple of winners of a giveaway, another giveaway, gift card giveaway. We're giving away 3 $75 gift cards, but we're actually not going to announce them during the very end of the show. But if you stay till the end of the show, you may or may not get an email who may be one of those 3 people who is going to get a free $75 gift card. All right. So that being said, Gunnar, how are you today, my friend?
I'm great. I'm just wondering if I'm in the running for those goggles, Tyler.
I mean, you can be. I'm sure we could make something happen if you wanted another set of goggles.
Mine are kind of worn out right now. I might need some new ones.
All right. I will literally write you down right here. So tell us a little bit about where are you right now? Where are you located?
Yeah, I'm in Athens, Georgia. I've lived here the last 5 or 6 years. Went to school here, and we just started getting pool time back. So we've been swimming about once a day. We did our first double yesterday, actually. So we've been getting back into it pretty quickly, and Jack is ramping us up pretty fast, but it's
as
a
he
good
does
time to get back into shape. Yeah, as he does. He knows how to get us moving. But yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful place. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, so grew up swimming for Dynamo Swim Club. Started swimming though when I was 3 years old on my summer club. So I've been swimming since I was 3, and
wow.
didn't start year round at Dynamo until I was about 10 or 11. And then once I started doing that, I wasn't very good ever until like about 13 or 14. But one thing that sort of remained constant was that I was always a IMer, and that's sort of always been my specialty. And, at that age, like 13, 14 is really when I started to become a 400 IMer. And that's sort of, some might see it as an unfortunate, turn of events to be a 400 IMer. But I mean, it's really a event that I've grown to love, and it's definitely a love-hate, but it's something I've always trained for, and it's always sort of been my bread and butter. So lucky to be here at Georgia because Jack, that's sort of his thing is 4IMers and 200 flyers. And so it's an incredible training environment. I get to train with my buddies Chase Kalish and Jay Litherland every single day. So, it's a wonderful environment, and it really just bodes well for faster.
Yeah. And, I totally understand what you say about it being a love-hate thing. It's like one of those events that sort of chooses you, not the other way around. Right. But I always felt like the 400 IM was one of those things where it was like, I don't necessarily have to be the absolute best swimmer out there, even though most of the best 400 IMers are some of the best all-around swimmers out there. But you don't necessarily have to be the best swimmer. You just have to be somebody who I think what's more important in that event specifically is working your butt off for one, and secondarily having a really next level ability to deal with pain. I think if you ask any swimmer out there, they would agree wholeheartedly that the 400 IM is the most painful event in the sport of competitive swimming. And that was something I kind of prided myself on. It's like, you're a 400 IM, people kind of was like, wow, he's crazy and he can deal with a lot of pain, right? So that's awesome. And it's cool to know that you were a 400 IMer from a very young age. I kind of was too. I didn't start until probably 15 or 16 did I start actually doing the 400 IM, but I kind of took to it pretty quickly, kind of like you. So tell us a little bit about, some of the people in the chat I know who you are. Tell us a little bit about your, some of your accolades, like, how, what have you accomplished in NC2A swimming? What have you accomplished on the international stage?
Yeah. So, my first slide, I believe, goes over sort of what I've done in the 4IM. But I believe, so my first Olympic trial cut was in the 400 IM. I think I was 15 or 16. I got first at nationals in 2015 in the 4IM. I've been third a couple times at NCAAs. Got third at World Champ Trials in 2017 to my teammates Jay and Chase. And so, internationally, last summer I was supposed to swim in at Pan Am's, but got food poisoning the night before.
Oh, no.
Didn't actually get, it wasn't even food poisoning. It was norovirus, and E. coli. So I was definitely knocked out there. It was the night before the 4IM was supposed to happen. So I didn't get to swim that one. That was kind of a crazy story, but, I got to compete all over the place. Fortunately got to go to the 2016 Olympics in Rio, but didn't actually do the 400 IM. Ended up doing the 800 freestyle relay. And funnily enough, the event that I made the Olympics in was actually my worst place of that Olympic trial. So I was fourth in the 400 IM, fourth in the 200 fly, fourth in the 200 IM, and then I was fifth in the 200 free. And since they take sixth in the 200 free for the relay, that's the one I made it in. But, that's how it works, I guess.
You still made it.
Yeah, I'm not complaining.
So for those who don't know, and that's a really interesting point, because everybody talks about the Olympic trials and it being that, only the top two get to go and compete in the Olympic trials. So why is it that when you were fifth place, you still got to go and represent Team USA in the 2016 Olympics?
Yeah. So for individual events, they take two swimmers. So like the IMs, the freestyles besides the 100 and 200, breaststrokes, all that, they take two swimmers. And then in the 200 free, they take six. So they've got four swimmers that are definitely on the relay, and then two that'll probably just be on the prelims and kind of duke it out for maybe possibly being on that finals relay. So I got to be one of those swimmers, placing fifth. And I punched my ticket that way out of lane one. And I believe, Tyler, I think you were in that race, right? I think that was, I know we've raced a couple of times.
Yep, I was in that race.
4IMs. We definitely raced some 4IMs.
We've raced the 400 IM against each other several times. I was in that race and I got seventh in the 200 fly. One spot out, or the 200 freestyle. I was one spot out, but that's how it goes. It's the way competition goes. And it was actually interesting. I missed making my second Olympic team in three separate events by less than a quarter of a second each time. That's how it goes.
I mean, you can't write that stuff.
No.
Well,
it was a sign. It was time to move on.
Yeah, every time. It's always an honor. And, it was an honor just even being able to compete against you, every single time we step up on the block. So.
Well, it was good to swim against you too, man. I really appreciate that. And it's been cool. It's been cool to watch, the powerhouse that Atlanta is, and especially, specifically UGA. I don't want to say Atlanta because you guys are up in Athens, right? The powerhouse that UGA is, and you're absolutely right. Like 400 IMers, super stout. 200 flyers, super stout. And obviously they've got, lots of different middle distance and distance events that swim very well out of that school. And that's not to discount any of the other amazing athletes there. It's just something that's always really stuck out to me. So, well, cool. Do you have any kind of any messages that you want to give to the people in chat and the people who are going to watch the replay that you want to sort of give out during this sort of strange time in history before we get started?
Yeah. I mean, we're going through some crazy stuff in this country right now and in this world too. I mean, it's a tough time to be an athlete, Pools are closed, people aren't able to train, but I think one thing that everyone just has to do is sort of stay active, and sort of use this time to learn why you love swimming. You know, right now, if you're missing swimming, you need to take that for this season coming up and take that and use that as motivation for you, because, you know, a lot of times practices get tough, you know, we get burnt out. It starts to get really tired and mentally draining. But, you know, look back on this time, swimmers, when you missed swimming, and use that as motivation to swim faster. And I know I will. And, you know, this has been sort of a good time to decompress and recharge the batteries. You know, once we get back to it, go at it 100% and just remember that, you know, it's weird when we're not swimming. So really take advantage of it.
Yeah, all very good points. So let's get right into it. All right. I'm going to pull up your slideshow, and we're going to get started, and we'll just kind of walk through it little by little. So like you mentioned, you know, talk us through the some of your accolades. You know, you may have already covered them a little bit, but, you know, talk us through sort of what you have on the screen.
Yeah. So first Olympic trials cut was the 4 IM. I think I was 15 years old. So that's sort of been my thing, I guess. It's what I've always done. Got to swim at the U.S. Opens, won that. That was really cool. That was a cool race. It was outdoors in San Antonio. So the water was like, I mean, this was August in San Antonio. You can imagine it was like blisteringly hot. And so everyone was just dying. So I remember after the 4 IM, just like my face was just red. And that was one of the toughest 4 IMs for sure, you know, because the one thing you can't control is, you know, the environment. 4 IM is always going to hurt, but things like the environment, the water temp, that's stuff you can't control, and that's just going to make the races hurt worse. But you know, fighting through adversity, you know, it always kind of makes you tougher, right? Third at World Champ Trials, that was definitely one of my favorite races, because although I didn't make the World Champ team, I was just one place out at third. My two teammates, Jay and Chase, got to go. They were first and second. So we had 3 Georgia Bulldogs, 1, 2, 3. And that was a really, really cool race to see them make worlds. I've swam a lot of NCAA races in my time. 2015, 2017, I was third. I believe in 15 and 16, I think Chase won those, came first and second in those. So that was really cool. And then lastly, that picture kind of looks like my hands got cut off, but I promise I still have hands. And actually, that's sort of bad technique. You definitely want your palms facing down towards the water. So don't swim like that. Yeah, so race strategy. If you take anything away from this talk, it should be this slide right here. And Tyler knows this for sure. You should negative split your effort by your 50s within each 100. And by that, I mean...
And that means go a little bit faster in your second 50, or like build each 100 within it. So you always want your second 50 to be faster than your first 50. But of course, in the first 100, it's really difficult to make that happen, because you get the start in that first dive, right? Which is why you see that may not be the exact thing that he accomplished in his best 400 IM, but it's more about the effort, right?
Right. So yeah, if you look there, my fly obviously was faster on the first 50 because you have the start, but you have to make sure that the effort on the second. So you look at all these red splits, the backstroke, that's over a second faster on the second 50. And this is meters, right? Faster on the breaststroke. Yeah, this was long course meters. This was that World Champ Trials swim in 2017. So, you know, it may not always work out like this, where your second 50 is actually faster than the first 50. I've just gotten pretty good at doing that, but at least the effort has to be heavier on the second 50. So it's sort of a strong build on that first 50, and then really strong on that second 50. But, you know, it can't be easy down and all out coming back, right? It's a strong race. I mean, that's what it's all about, is that toughness. And so it is about effort, but eventually, you know, once you get it good enough at it, your splits will reflect it like it does here.
Next slide.
Yeah. So a little bit more about the nuts and bolts. So the fly leg has to be easy speed, but it has to be fast still. So you want to take relaxed, deep breaths relaxed strokes, small splashes on your hand entry. When your hands hit the water, there shouldn't be a giant splash going up from the water. It should be really, really easy, but you have to figure out how to swim easy and relaxed and still have it be fast. You cannot be dead after the fly leg, because I know Tyler has swum some races where you're just dead after the fly leg and you're not going to make it home. So you have to figure out how to be able to swim it fast and strong, but easy. And that's all, all that takes is technique, good technique, and training hard. If you're in really good shape, you can do that. So an example of this is 2012 Olympic trials. It was my first Olympic trials. I believe I was 16 years old. It was the first day of the meet, first event of the entire meet. And I step up and I'm in Michael Phelps's heat, and I'm just like, oh no. I'm in lane 1. He's over there, obviously, in lane 4 or 5. And at trials, there's like 20,000 people in the stands. Yep. And they say quiet for the start. It goes dead silent, and then I hear Michael's famous arm slaps. It's just dead silent, and all I'm hearing is the slaps. And I'm like, oh no. And so I just freaked out. I got all in my head. I'm 16 years old, and I just I went all out in the first 50 fly. And I think I was either ahead of Michael or second just to Michael at the 50. And just died so hard. It was definitely the hardest 4IM of my life.
Yeah. I've literally done that before.
yeah, probably to Michael. And so
exactly.
It's just, that's sort of testament to not swimming who's in the lane next to you, right? It's swimming your own race, and knowing with confidence that you're going to be good, but you have to swim it right. And if you don't swim the 4IM right, you're going to pay for it. And we've all been there, but it's not a fun thing to do is going out too hard and too fast. But what's also very, very important, and I mentioned a second ago, is you have to be able to withstand good technique. If you are, once you start hurting, once you start fatiguing on like those backstroke and breaststroke legs, especially breaststroke requires good technique. And if your technique starts to get sloppy, once you get tired and it starts to fall apart, that's when it's going to hurt even worse. So the only way to remedy that is to practice every single day with good technique. When you're racing in practice, if you start to fatigue and just flop around because you're tired, that's going to happen mid-race, right? That's going to happen in your 4IM. And so that's something you have to keep in mind. You have to be able to swim at a high level and keep it, pretty and good and like you would be doing it just when it's easy.
And real quick, just to interrupt, I'm seeing some people in chat asking if these tips sort of apply to other IMs, specifically the 100 and the 200 IM. Most of the tips that, and obviously, Gunnar, feel free to add on to what I'm about to say, but I feel like most of what he's giving us right now is tuned very specifically for the 400 IM. But, one of the things that you might be able to say, especially for a younger swimmer in the 200 IM, maybe the negative splitting in a short course 200 yard IM, might be something that they might start to work on, but definitely this is more tuned for the 400 IM.
Definitely. They're very, very different races, and you see so many people, I can think of so many people who are great at the 200 IM and can't do a 4IM to save their life. And that a lot of that is because, and I'll mention this down at the bottom of this slide, but you can't really have a really weak stroke in a 400 IM. You can fake like a bad breaststroke. Ryan Murphy comes to mind. He's got an incredible 200 IM, one of the fastest 200 IMs of all time. But he's got a breaststroke that won't allow him to do a 400 IM. So these are definitely tips that are for the 4IM, but there is a lot of translation there for sure. But yeah, 4IM especially is about who can hurt the most for the longest. So it's about being in pain for a 400 or a 300 and then just being able to just crush a freestyle leg when you're already hurting and when that lactate is already, killing your arms, killing your legs. But if you are absolutely dead entering the free, that means somewhere you're overexerting, somewhere your stroke is falling apart. Maybe your fly's too heavy, your breaststroke technique's falling apart. So that's something you need to go back and look at. If you're not able to finish a freestyle on the 4IM, something's going wrong in that first 300 that you need to change and work on. And then lastly, you cannot have a true weak stroke. So world-class 4IMers, they have a weakest stroke, but none have a weak stroke. Chase Kalish comes to mind. he can do all 4 strokes. His weakest stroke is definitely backstroke, right? But I've seen him go Olympic trials cuts in a 200 backstroke. So
yeah, absolutely.
He's still got an incredible backstroke, but it's his worst stroke. And so if you really want to, compete at a high level in a 400 IM, you really have to have 4 decent strokes. You can't just rely on an incredible freestyle, or you can't just rely on your fly, because you're going to pay for it. And so practicing your strengths is important. In practice, if you're a flyer, you're going to love to do butterfly in practice. That's what, you're going to want to do. And I do too. But if you want to be a 400 IMer, you have to practice your weaknesses as well. You have to do, when your worst stroke's breaststroke, you have to practice your breaststroke in practice. That's the only way it's going to get better. And that's the only way you're going to improve this, and get rid of that weak stroke. You've got to have them all sort of on at least a bit of a level playing ground. Our coach at Georgia, he constantly has us do weak stroke workouts. We do, so my weakest stroke is backstroke. We do lots of backstroke. Jay's weakest stroke is breaststroke. He does a lot of breaststroke. He does breaststroke group every single Wednesday. So, you have to work that weak stroke if you want to be good at the 400 IM. And it sucks. No one likes doing their worst stroke, but that's the only way, you're going to be able to keep that at a high level.
Yeah, and it's so true because one of my coaches is an absolute legend. Gunnar, I'm sure you know who it is. I'm not sure everybody in the chat room knows who this is, but John Urbanchek always says, somebody who has the ability to go out and break the world record in the 400 IM will also be able to make an Olympic final in a 200 of every single stroke. And that just sort of outlines exactly what you said. Like, obviously, every 400 IMer has a weakest stroke, but none of them have a truly weak stroke. That means that, all that's saying is that you don't have to have 4 strokes that are all at the exact same level. You just have to make sure that your worst stroke is as close to your best stroke as possible. Does that make sense, Pat? So let us know if that makes sense to you. But let's move on to the next slide here. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Are you able to play that video?
I don't think so. Actually, here, let me try and pull it up.
Okay.
And share my
I'll just
screen.
give a background. So this was from the Mare Nostrum. That's a meet over in Europe. It's in Canet and Roussillon, France. And so I don't know if y'all have seen in some pools, like in the diving well, they'll have this thing called a whale bubble, where the water, they have a big bubble that comes up from the bottom of the pool, and it's to help divers so that when they land they don't flop. This is just a kind of a funny story of one of my 400 IMs. I actually got hit by the whale bubble. It malfunctioned and went off during my 400 IM. So right here, it hits me and I literally just stopped, and it sat me up completely. And I completely stopped moving. I thought the swimmer next to me kicked me because I had no idea what was going on. And somehow, I think I still qualified for finals. I think it was 8th place, but that was just that was ridiculous. And so that was sort of a race video. And Katinka Hosu was in the heat right before me, and it actually had gone off in her heat too, but she was lucky and she was at the other end of the pool when it went off, and I was just unlucky enough to get hit directly by it. So hey, things will happen. I talked about, external things that you have no control over. Sometimes you're going to get hit with a whale bubble and completely stop moving, but you just got to keep swimming.
That totally makes sense. And actually, so this is kind of funny and a little bit embarrassing at the same time. So I had actually obviously chat before we got on here. Gunnar was, he actually made this presentation for you guys, and I just gave it a quick look over, and honestly didn't notice that picture. And I know that guy. But anyway, go ahead, talk us through this workout that you have written here.
Yeah. So this is my warm up. That's Tyler behind the blocks before a race. And one thing that's so important is to not overexert or overstretch behind the blocks. And you can see Tyler's just doing some simple arm swings. You do not want to pull a hammy, right? But you don't want to just completely crush your legs, stretching them, or doing giant jumps and lunges behind the blocks. Just some easy, relaxed stretching. just stay calm, because the 400 IM is a tortoise and the hare race, right? You want to be the tortoise who's got that the end endurance, and who's going to not just kill themselves at the beginning. And a lot of times, if you just like completely blast your heart rate before the race, you're going to do what I did at trials in 2012 and go out way too fast. So take it easy behind the blocks. But what you do have to do in warm up is you have to have some sustained high heart rate swimming. You've got to get your heart rate up and keep it up for a little while, or else you're not going to be warmed up and you're not going to be ready to race. So I've been doing the exact same warm up, or a variation of the same warm up, since I was 13 years old. My coach, Jason Turcott, gave it to me, and I've been doing pretty much the same thing since then. So you're going to start with like a 1200, mix it up. You know, these are all sort of just suggestions. Like if you're younger, maybe like only an 800, but mix it up. Make sure you're doing some of every single stroke. If you're warming up for a 400 IM, that kind of makes sense. But do some 200 IMs, do some drill swim by 25s. You know, you don't have to kill yourself. Don't do a ton of fly, but definitely do some nice, easy, relaxed fly. Then I always do 3 100s on 15 seconds, and they're strong, and you have to have a pretty high heart rate for all three. So if I'm going 3 100s, I'll probably hold like 53, 54 when I'm feeling really good. So this is short course. So they need to be pretty strong, but don't kill yourself. And obviously this is a suggestion. If you're younger, you may want to just do like 2 or maybe like 375s. Tune it to what works best for you. And I've done that. You know, this wasn't exactly the exact same warm up when I was 13, but I've sort of tweaked it to my strengths and to make it something that factors into why I'm good at the 400 IM, because I think I've really nailed my warm down and made it best for me. Then I'll do some 650s on a little shorter rest. I'll go 1 fly free, 1 free fly, then back free, free back, same with breast. Make the stroke kind of strong and then the free kind of easy. So your heart rate shouldn't really drop too much. This is all going to you know, it's not going to be easy. You're going to be breathing pretty hard, but if you're going to swim a really hard 4 IM, your heart needs to realize, okay, in about an hour or so, like my heart rate's going to be up for a sustained amount of time, like 4 or 5 minutes. That's a long time for your heart rate to be up. So you've got to sort of sustain it like that in your warm up. Then I'll do some 25s and just do like 1 stroke, 1 free, blast the stroke real fast, you know, not crazy fast, don't kill yourself, and then go easy on the free and then do some easy. You know, that could be a lot of warm up for some of you. And I think that, you know, one of the biggest problems I see in older swimmers or college swimmers is that they don't warm up enough, because they think, you know, you don't really need to warm up a whole lot. But I mean, at Georgia, we're swimming like, you know, around 6,000 yards of practice, give or take, you know, so you can't just go in, splash around a 500 and then expect to swim a really good 400 IM. You've got to get your muscles going. You've got to get the blood pumping, and you've got to get your heart rate up a little bit. And then once you hop out, you know, you can relax, stretch, foam roll. But in that warm up, I think a lot of people are scared to get their heart rate up, especially in the 400 IM. You know, maybe a sprinter can kind of get away with just floating around, but if you want to be good at this event, you know, really keep this in mind. So you can go to the next slide. Yeah, so some good drills. For fly, I love our coach, Jerry Champer, does fly group every week, and we call it Jerry World because he just like comes up with the craziest stuff. But you go 4 kicks for 1 pull, butterfly. So you'll dive down. You want to stay on the surface of the water. You don't want to dive real deep, but you go 4 kicks and then a fly stroke. 4 kicks and a fly stroke. And then we'll do a lot of turtle, which is like you're kicking fly with your hands down by your sides. Real easy. You don't want to be going up and down like that. You want to stay right on the surface. And then you're going to bring your arms up in a fly stroke right on the surface, but do it as slowly as you can and keep kicking the whole time. It's actually kind of a hard drill, but if you have a really tight core and a relaxed arms, that's how you do it well. But that's a fun drill. And then one thing that our coach Jack does so much is we'll go 4 300s, 3 3 3, 3 right, 3 left, 3 swim butterfly strokes. And that's not really a drill at that point, because then it actually gets really hard after a 300 doing 3 3 3. It really gets tough. But 3 3 3 can be a good drill, you know, just to learn that relaxed arm recovery that you need on that first 100 of the 400 IM. Backstroke, our coach, Jack, he loves double arm backstroke. It teaches you, to be wide enough on your backstroke recovery. You don't want to be crammed in here over your head. I have a really big problem with that, and I still have to fight that every single time I race. So I do a lot of double arm backstroke to keep my shoulders out like this so I'm not coming in. And then we do a lot of pulling with a strap. You tie your ankles together or you grip a buoy down at your ankles, but we do a lot of backstroke pull like that. And that'll teach you to have a really tight core. And if you don't have a good backstroke catch, you're going to sink, and it's going to be the hardest drill ever. So we do a ton of that, and that's really going to translate into your 4IM because, you've got to have that tight core and you've got to have a really good pull on your backstroke. And like I said, if your technique's not right, it's going to kill you at the end of a 400 IM. And so for breaststroke, you've got to have a really nice long stroke, really relax on a 4IM. You don't want to just crush it and start spinning like you would on maybe 100 breaths. So it's like some 2 kick 1 pull or 3 up 3 down, which is where you take 3 normal breaststrokes and then you dive down and then do 3 breaststrokes under the water where you're not coming up and breathing, and then 3 up 3 down. That's just teaching you to really be long and relaxed. And then on free, maybe do some overkick where you're kicking really hard and do like really slow freestyle strokes with your arms, but kick as hard as you can. Because on free, it's just like, it's just all out sprint to the finish, right? On that first 300, it's like, how hard can I make it hurt without killing myself? And then on free, it's just go time, build the first 50, but that last 50 of freestyle is just, finish as strong as you can. So your kick, if you watch in a 400 IM, swimmers like Tyler or Michael or Ryan Lochte, those guys, if you watch their kick, it's incredible to see the wake from their kick and the splashing that they're doing, even at the end of a 400 IM. It's such a hard event, but they are able to sustain a giant kick. And that's really impressive. And that's something that people need to definitely work on it for a good 400 IM. So I've got 2 categories of sets here, not fun sets and fun sets. So one of the hardest probably the hardest set I've ever done. And I always, when people ask me this question, I always say this set right here, the Bob Bowman ladder. So we were at altitude camp, and Tyler,
I have bad memories about this one.
I know you've done this one. So at altitude OTC, we were, it was like a Monday morning. We came in, didn't think it was going to be that hard, and he gives us this set. It's like a 6,400 long course meters set. So it's 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, and then back down 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the odd stuff is freestyle. The even stuff is FRIM, which is free IM, so free back breast free. And it's on just like a really, really tough interval. So, that one is just like a killer. And that's always going to stay in my mind as one of the hardest sets I've ever done. And then back in my club swimming days with Jason, I did 10 400 IMs. First 5 are descend, and then the last 5 are all 5 400 IMs are just off the blocks as fast as you can hold. And then actually, this is kind of a funny anecdote. Jay and I swam on the same club team since the time we were like 11 or 12 years old, Dynamo in Atlanta. And now, we're still teammates here at Georgia. We were roommates at the Olympics in 2016 in Rio. So we've been together, training together for forever. And Jay actually has 2 twin brothers. He's a triplet with 2 other brothers. So we've been together for a long time. But Jay and I, so Dynamo, our club team, has a mile meet every single year, and everyone goes and all they swim is the mile. So you do a mile. But Jay and I didn't feel like doing freestyle. We just thought, I don't know, we just hated the mile. We hated the idea of it. So we thought, okay, we'll ask Jason if we can do it IM. And he actually let us. So surprised.
You guys are sick.
Yeah. So I don't know why we did it, because it actually ended up being so much worse. But we thought at the time before the race it might be kind of fun. But so we did a 400 fly, 400 back, 400 breast, 400 free, and then a 50 fly at the end all out. And that makes it 1650. Such a bad idea, and I don't know why we did it, but it was kind of fun just him and I racing. Yeah, that 400 fly, I talk about how you don't want to be dead after the fly leg of a 400 IM. Well, we were dead after a 400 fly. But, yeah, I think we beat like 1 or 2 kids who were doing freestyle, so we were proud of that. But and then, there's some sets out there that are really geared towards 400 IMs. Sets that are for the 4 IM are going to gruel and suck. It's just a hard event, so you've got to train hard to be good at it. there's not a single 400 IMer on the world stage or the NCAA stage who can just sort of phone in workouts and just sort of cruise through workouts. You know, you've got to work hard. You've got to be in incredible shape to be an incredible 400 IMer. We'll go like 16 ones, odds moderate, free evens, stroke, 2 of each stroke. Second one faster than the first. That's kind of working on that descend effort like we talked about in the 400 IM. Or we'll do like 10 twos where the evens are IM descend to all out. And again, that's just working on, you know, being tough. See who can maintain it for the longest and see who can hurt really bad and still have some energy there at the end. And that's all I've got. I do want to leave with just one closing message is when we get back to the pool, I mean, I spoke a little bit about this. There's some crazy stuff going on right now. And, you know, swimming in a predominantly white sport, I mean, it's something that you're going to see. And, you know, I just want to challenge you all to be conscious and hold yourself accountable for those swimmers who, you know, may be minorities, because sometimes, you know, they may deal with stuff that you may not have to, and they may act like it doesn't affect them and they're having fun playing around, but sometimes it's internally really hurting them. So hold yourself accountable, hold your teammates accountable, and, you know, be a team. And that's going to make ultimately you faster and your teammates faster as well. So good luck to y'all. I hope this helped. And yeah, if you guys become 400 IMers, good luck, because it's a tough road, but, you know, respect.
Very rewarding, and you will get a lot of respect for being a 400 IMer. So, you know, Gunnar, that was an awesome presentation. And one of the cool things about, you know, me being one of the hosts for these shows is that, you know, I get to, especially for the Breaking Down series, like I get to really peek into what everybody thinks about a particular race. And this one, especially for me, was very cool because, like I said at the very beginning, like I was also a 400 IMer. And, you know, we have a lot of the same mindsets as it relates to certain things, but seeing some of the ways that you approach things from a training perspective, I found was really interesting. And just, you know, thank you very much for your time once again. And I can tell by the chat that people are very thankful for what you've gotten up on the screen and what you've given us. So thanks again. And I guess to kind of wrap it up, folks, you know, he did have a really great point there at the very end. You know, we have a lot going on. You know, not only are we in the middle of a pandemic, but there's a lot of other stuff going on as it relates to our society. So definitely, you know, take a look inside at what's going on and you know, think about what we're seeing. And I think it's a great time to be introspective. That being said, you know, let's do our giveaway. Let's give away a free pair of goggles. So thank you very much to everybody who's stuck around. You know, we're going to have some webinars again next week. I believe, if I'm looking at the schedule right now, I believe we have 2 webinars next week. So not a ton for next week, but the following week, we're going to have 3 webinars, and we're going to keep up the cadence with you know, 2 to 5 webinars every week after this. But what's really exciting is that we're getting back to doing swim clinics as a company. So we're actually doing clinics again. So go to our website, fitterandfaster.com, and check it out. See if there's a clinic coming up in your area. You might be surprised. There's actually a handful of clinics that, you know, I had phone calls today where we have a clinic happening in several weeks, and it's going to happen right after the pool opens up. So I'm going to give you a link here in a little bit, but I want to make sure that you guys go to our website and check it out. There may be a clinic coming to an area near you, or it might even be a couple of hours drive away. If you really want to get in the pool with us, you should check that out. That being said, our winner of our Arena Cobra Swipe goggles today is Alyssa Walker. Alyssa Walker, congratulations. Congratulations. So, no, well, I'm going to talk to you about that after this. So we obviously, when you signed in, and the chat's going absolutely crazy right now. Obviously, when you signed in, you gave us your email, Alyssa. I'm going to be messaging you or one of my coworkers is going to be messaging you, and she's going to give you some information about how to get your goggles. Every week, folks, we're giving some stuff away. All right. So every single week we have an item that we're going to be giving away. Make sure you're checking out our website, fitterandfaster.com/live. That's where all of our live webinars are going to be. And if you sign up for every single one of those webinars, in each one of those webinars, you have a separate chance to win something. Okay. And everybody likes free stuff, right? That being said, Gunnar, do you have anything final that you want to give us before we close out the room and I give everybody that one link that I want them to follow?
Yeah, swimming's a lot of fun, and it's a really cool sport to be a part of, and I'm so thankful that I've been able to be a swimmer my whole life. And but remember that it's just a sport. A lot of times I think a lot of people get so much anxiety before their races, especially before a daunting race like the 400 IM. I mean, that can really mess with your head. But if you just relax and realize, it's just a sport, it should be fun. You should have fun with this, and that's going to be what makes you swim your fastest. So, just know that, and know that you're going to do great. If you put in the work in training, if you put in the work in practice every single day, you're going to swim just fine. And there's no need to be nervous. So, know you guys can do it, and I look forward to doing some clinics with you guys.
And we're looking forward to having you do more clinics with us. There's one thing that I know is that the best swimmers in the world aren't always the best clinicians, but oftentimes the best clinicians in the world are incredibly good swimmers, and you're one of that mold. Is you're a wonderful clinician. We're stoked to have you on our team. So. Couple of things. Again, I just flashed a link up on your screen. Go ahead and click that. That's going to take you to a listing of all of the clinics that we have coming up soon. If you type in your city and state there, it's actually going to show you all of the clinics that are closest to you. So definitely use that function and see if there are any clinics coming up nearby, and talk to your parents about whether or not you want to come to a clinic. We'd love to have you. We'd love to see you. And we're stoked to be getting back to some level of normal. We're also doing, again, several webinars every single week. So we are doing more of these free webinars. You can find those webinars at fitterandfaster.com/live. You can also find replays of all of our past webinars at fitterandfaster.com/replay. And you're going to be getting an email in about 24 hours with a link to the replay of this webinar if there's anything that you missed, or if you want to go back and watch something, or if you came in a little bit late. So thank you very much. We really appreciate you being here. As always, stay safe, stay positive, and wash your dang hands. Bye now.